The agenda this evening. First of all, welcome to everyone that is here this evening. First thing on the agenda is a public hearing that is set to discuss or give you a time to make public comments regarding establishment of the tax levy for the fiscal year 2014-15 beginning April 1st, 2014. And I believe our city administrator has a few comments, and then we'll open the mic up and anyone can make comments that would like to.
Okay, as any of you have been around for a while, you know this is an annual event. If you look at the paper, you'll notice all the political subdivisions are putting their ads in for their hearings before they establish the property tax levy. I put some information in your packet. It's down under the ordinance, so I suggest you dig down a little bit to get to that, because there's a little bit of context that's useful down there, I think. You recall we've talked about this in a couple of times over the past. We've talked about it during budget preparation, because it's obviously integral to that. We also talked about it during the top 25 a couple years ago, and another planning meeting or two. But let's, on the back of the ordinance, there's a public hearing notice that was published late last week. I'll just draw your attention to that. I assume most of you read it by now, but the thing of note there is the assessed valuation decreased, albeit modestly, but nonetheless a decrease. That's pretty unusual in any circumstance, so that's one note that's probably consistent with our economic environment. Then, as we've discussed in the past, the next two pages are what's evolved from our illustrious and often arrogant state legislators in deciding how to micromanage you all. As you see, the fine print gets pretty deep, so hopefully you've read some of the items that I highlighted. But having to do with the voluntary reductions, which you have exercised for a number of years, and how you deal with that in even numbered years versus odd numbered years, reassessment years, non-reassessment years, so forth and so on. The gist of that is, as we talked about last year, is that in an odd year, you don't have any flexibility at all. In an even year, which obviously we're in, you have some flexibility on what you can do. And you can see that flexibility allows us to, on I guess the third page would be the calculations. Incidentally, both of these pages come from the state auditor's office, who also think they have to scrutinize this work. Our levy could be 73.18 cents. I think I circled that number there on the third page. You see that. That number is ultimately governed by something called the Hancock Amendment, which a few of you might remember. It probably goes back about 30 years, which was the first tax limit thing that was passed in Missouri. Again, it's a long time ago, but it's still on the books and still controls this. But even that, as restrictive as it was, allows a little bit of growth and advancement over the years, either in assessed value or keeping up with the CPI to some degree. So, given our past discussions on where our levy has been, if you look on the ordinance, if we jump through the right hoops, which are also enclosed on the agenda this time, we can go to the 73.18%. My suggestion was to be somewhat consistent with what your will has been in the past, but recognizing the revenue picture that we face was to set it at 70 cents this year, which still allows a 3-cent rollback. And I wasn't here when you started that, but I'd guess that's probably about what it was when you first did it, and it's just sort of increased incrementally over the years to where it's gotten to be a fairly sizable number. Just for further context, outside the county, and I don't know their numbers, there's no other political subdivision in Cooper County that I'm aware of that doesn't take the maximum every year. And you see now we can run it out to 4 digits and so forth. We've mastered that. So my suggestion on a reasonable compromise, I think, is to move it to 70 cents. That helps the general fund out a little bit and retains your interest in maintaining a voluntary rollback. All right, Steve.
Do we expect our assessed value to go down again next year? I mean, this has to be set for 2 years, right?
You're stuck with it for 2 years. Yeah, yes.
That's 5 cents.
I don't know of any reason I would think it would probably go up. You notice part of it's coming there in the personal property, unless that automatically goes down, because each year your car gets a year older, and they do adjust that down. So if there's not a turnover in cars, although car sales I think have been pretty good, that works its way down automatically. The real estate is a little less, it doesn't have that automatic decrease, but for whatever reason, it went down, almost $500,000 in spite of a few projects that were done. So the only significant project I'm aware of this year would be the Casey's thing, I guess. Maybe there's something else out there, a house or two.
But a normal trend would be up.
Normal trend would be up, and usually to the tune of 2, 3, 4%, which would be a couple of $1 million, but I don't look for that to happen now. So.
Okay. At this time, I would like to welcome anyone from the audience who would like to come to the microphone and make a statement regarding the proposed tax levy.
I don't know if this is really the right time. Are you going to have another open time?
Yes, public comments, probably what you're wanting to talk about, you should wait until our regular meeting. This is just a public
Okay,
hearing
this partly
regarding...
does address the taxes, though.
Oh, okay, well, go
Okay.
ahead. You can actually come up again under public comments. And you don't need to sign in, you just
Okay.
state what you would like to say.
All right, well, I wrote it down because I don't want to ramble. This partly is about the taxes and partly about the subject you guys talked about at your last meeting regarding the rental property inspections and certificates of compliance. And give me a minute to get to what you're talking about now. I just want to give you some stuff first. Rental properties are businesses. Businesses require a business license, often requiring inspections from the health department. I am all for licensed or certificate of compliance for rental properties. I'm also a landlord, besides being a regular, ordinary citizen and a business owner. Landlords might say, well, it costs too much to clean up, or if we do clean up our properties, we have to pass the costs on to our renters. I say do it. Raise your rents, you'll get better renters, they'll pay their rent, they'll stay, they'll take care of your property. If they're still concerned about raising the rents, landlords have the subsidized rental programs that they can use. The problem goes beyond rental properties, however. Look at all the other homes that are owner-occupied out there that need cleaned up. Someone suggested inspections when properties are sold. That's not going to address the issues, because what about those owner-occupied properties that people have been living in for 10, 15, 20 years and they're falling apart? So that won't solve the problem. I heard it said that ordinances and codes are on the book that are supposed to address the problems. I say look at those ordinances and those codes, because I don't think they're addressing the problem. And if they don't, let's change them. Let's tweak them. Let's adjust them. Let's do whatever it takes to make it work. But let's fairly administer whatever codes that we have to both the rental and owner-occupied properties. The response might be, there's no resources. Well, if we have to raise taxes a few pennies to pay for it, do it. It can only help property values, and it can only help Boonville. Use this extra income to hire a person part-time. Work collaboratively with other agencies. Have other agencies help with the expense, to help cover some of the inspections. Bring in the health department, bring in whoever that can share the load. It doesn't have to fall on just one agency or one committee or one person. Like you said, we've had the voluntary rollback taxes. Maybe we need to change that. 70 cents, that's a good start, but homes in Boonville are aging. Lots and lots and lots of homes are aging, and with that comes problems. And I know not everybody can afford to fix up their place. I mean, our rental property, we just went through a big deal with the bathroom and water getting behind the showers and having to replace the whole shower walls. The basement filled with sewer. When the city had all the rain, it wasn't here, our property is in Fayette, but when all the rain came in and the sewers couldn't handle it, they all backed up into our basement. But guess who got stuck cleaning that up and paying for it? We did. So I get it. I understand that there are problems, and I understand there's limited resources. Everybody has them. Can we also offer some kind of a reward system? The Historic Preservation already does that. They reward properties that have been fixed up, and, you know, they're not rewarded in a monetary way, but it's more in an attaboy, it's more in a way of bringing pride of ownership. And if we could figure out a way to do that, or dangle a carrot, or some kind of reward, or something to property owners to help them become more interested in caring for their property, to somehow get them to have pride of ownership. I think that would help too. That would make a difference.
Chris, you've got about 30 seconds left.
Okay, well, I've got about another 2 pages, so I'll just stop there.
You can always get up during public comments, which is in about
Okay.
5 seconds.
But yeah, I mean, I'm all for it. If you need to do that, I say do it.
Okay, thank you, Chris. Are there any other comments, and these should be on the tax levy, increased tax levy? Do you want to make a public comment?
I just want a clarification and question, if I
Okay.
may, Earl. Two, actually. What is the rate right now?
65.
It's 65, and the current budget's based off the 65, correct? All the numbers that we just dealt with in the budget, we based all those numbers off the 65. So raising it to 70 won't affect anything that we've already done. It'll just raise it to 70 for the next budget. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. And we'll also be discussing this during the regular meeting, so I think, won't we?
Well,
Or do
yeah, that's
you
all
have
we
a
did.
question? You can go ahead.
Okay, so these are budgeted numbers here.
They're budgeted
Under
numbers,
the
yeah.
public hearing, so those will raise by the 5 cents.
No.
No.
The assessed valuation is not in our control. That's
Oh.
enough to get see over there on the right, it says 70 versus 65.
Not a property tax rate.
That's based upon the
These
assessed
numbers.
valuation.
But this is at 70 or 65 cents.
Well, see the column, one says proposed, the other says prior.
Yes.
Okay, so that's the difference between last year and this year.
Any other questions before we close the public meeting? Okay, we'll close the public hearing at this time, and this time we'll call to order the meeting, and Morris Carter will be leading us in the Pledge of Allegiance, followed by prayer.
Pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Father, we come to you tonight. We ask for your guidance. We ask for understanding on the decisions that we try to make that better our community. Amen.
Roll call.
Carter.
Here.
Ayers. Here. Heaton.
Here?
Young.
Here.
Evans.
Here.
Meadows. Here. Beach. Hurt.
Here.
Hearing of citizens' comments at this time, if you have anything. Chris, if you'd like to continue, you could get another 5 minutes in, so. Okay, but this time you have to sign in and tell us who you are,
Okay.
and you have 5 minutes.
Okay. I'm Chris Royer, and like I said, I'm just an ordinary citizen, a business owner, landlord, but tonight I'm wearing my citizen hat. I am really concerned about this issue, and I think it's an issue that I really, really want to see taken seriously. I have been in client homes and working with clients that have rental, that are in rental properties here in town, and they're terrible. The rental homes that I have been in, and of course, they're the low-income families, but one home in particular, no doorknob, no lock on the front door. They were tying the door shut at night. There was holes in the ceiling because the roof had leaked repeatedly, and I know for a fact the landlord had been told many times about it and had not cleaned it up because 2 years earlier, I had another client in that exact same apartment, and it was leaking then. Mold on walls, mold on ceiling from water leaking in from various places. This is a common thread amongst many of the rental properties that I've gone into to work with clients. Many of them are not safe. Property values, that's a big concern. I have a property next door. The renter was telling me that his son was sleeping in their room because he was afraid his son would get stung by the wasps that were getting in through the broken windows. There were wasp nests being built around the windows, and they had told the landlord about it. Nothing happened. There were holes in the side of the wall from the outside going into the home that other critters were getting in through, and nothing was done. Finally, the renters told me that sewer had backed up into their basement, and I knew it had because I could smell it. I've been smelling it for weeks and weeks and weeks. And when they told me that, I made a call to the city to see if something could be done. And they sent someone out and said, well, the problem isn't with the city, it's with the house. The renter repeatedly told the landlord, did what they could to get rid of it. The landlord came out, put in a sub pump, and drained it out onto the lawn. That's not okay. When I show my property, and I'm trying to sell it, and when I show it to a prospective buyer, and they have to walk between our house and the neighbor's house to get to the back gardens, they always say, what's going on with that house? And when I tell them, they walk. How am I going to sell my property? And it's not just me, it's the perceived values around Boonville. We want people to come to Boonville. We want people to move in here. But when they drive by, if they see these rundown properties, we are not going to attract good residents to live here. Those are all big, major concerns. And I know this is a big problem. And I know this is not something that's going to be solved overnight. But I do think it's something that needs to be taken seriously and addressed and discussed and worked out. And like I said, if you need to raise the taxes a little bit to help pay for this, I think that's a good thing. You know, I mean, I just think it's something that we need to take really, really seriously. So yeah, that's basically in a nutshell what I have to say. So thank you for listening.
Thank you very much, Chris. That was exactly 5 minutes. Any other comments? Okay, seeing none, we'll move along to approval of the minutes of the July 21st, 2014 council meeting. Those were in your packet, and you've had the weekend to look at those. Are there any corrections or additions? Susan?
It says Ms. Meadows said she was unable to attend the planning and zoning on, that wasn't me, that was Becky.
That was me. Oh, Becky. Okay. Anything else? Noah?
I have one too, but unfortunately I lost my note page, so if you just give me a second, because it was sort of important.
Okay.
It had to do with our motion. I'm trying to find it here. The motion to create a committee to look
Okay.
into the housing. somebody help me out, where are we at on here?
Last page.
Here's this year's. Okay, here we go. So the paragraph that begins with Ms. Eller's moved and Mr. Young seconded. To form a committee consist of council members, staff, and landlords to further look at this issue and return to the council with recommendations to determine if further action is needed. And then it just actually goes into the actual vote. When actually, in between that motion, I had made a motion to amend to state that the committee would only be council members and staff.
Correct.
And then this vote that you have here is actually for that motion. So really, all that's missing is just the part that I made a motion to amend, and the amendment motion just basically struck out the word landlord. Everything else kind of stayed the same.
Okay.
Okay. Any other corrections? So the minutes will stand as corrected. Consent items, we have none this evening. Presentation of accounts and claims. Mary, when you're ready.
Ordinance appropriating money. Be it ordained by the Council of the City of Boonville as follows. Section 1, for the purpose of paying salaries and various accounts against the City of Boonville which have been allowed by the Council at the regular meeting thereof on August 4, 2014, the sum of $443,921.69. General Fund, $180,083.11. Sanitation, $13,270.93. CIP tax, $12,542.05. Waterworks, $112,200.18. Capital projects, $17,609.29. Wastewater, $52,466.88. Tourism, $13,923.57. Gaming, $41,825.68. Parks and Water, 0. Section 2, the bookkeeper is hereby authorized and instructed to draw checks on their respective city bank accounts in favor of the persons whose salaries and accounts have been allowed as above, amounting to $443,921.69, being the total amount of money above appropriated. Section 3, this ordinance shall take effect and be enforced from and after its passage. First reading on August 4, 2014, read for the second time this fourth day of August 2014, since a copy was made available prior to the meeting.
Second reading, title only.
Ordinance appropriating money.
Morris?
Mayor, I'll make a motion this be approved.
Okay, do I hear a second?
Second.
Thank you, Becky. Roll call.
Carter,
Yes.
Ayers,
Yes.
Heaton,
Yes.
Young,
Yes.
Evans,
Yes.
Meadows,
Yes.
Hurt.
Yes.
Thank you very much. Unfinished business. Continue CMCA proposed housing discussion. Before we get started, I think you had a packet at your place from City Administrator Tessendorf and City Attorney McGuire regarding this subject and this project. And I know that you have not had time to read that. So if you would like, we could take a 5-minute recess and you can read that. Some of it you've already seen. A lot of it is just pieces that they distributed the last month. But there are 2 new sheets of information from Earl and Megan on this project that you probably should read regarding the questions that they do ask and what they are requesting from us. So would you like to take a quick recess so that you can read that before we discuss this? Noah?
I'll make a motion that we take 5 minutes.
Okay, do I hear a second?
Second.
Thank you, Kari. Roll call.
Carter,
Yes.
Ayers,
Yes.
Heaton,
Yes.
Young,
Yes.
Evans,
Yes.
Meadows,
Yes.
Hurt.
Yes.
Okay, we will take a 5-minute recess, so.
don't have anything against it in our plan. It's not gonna hurt our plan. Right, exactly, these two. So, and then our zoning is good. So really, those are the only, so those two, I think, and that's really all that's being asked right now. That's correct. Okay.
No common area in the rear. Yes, that's better than
Figures together after what the city's cost.
I don't think we do. Subdivision, I've had the papers and then donate it to the city when it's done, inspected and done correctly.
That's what I wondered if we would absorb the cost or if we would. Because we're talking about, extending the water main, and if we had to do.
Yeah, no, everyone other than that,
Yeah.
and then we can donate it, just like putting in streets and then donate them to the city. It's just the cost of doing it.
Okay, I think we'll reconvene if everyone has had a chance to look at the memo. I'd like to open the discussion on the CMCA proposed housing on Cherry Street at this time. Did you have any comments you or Megan wanted to make regarding this before we start our discussion?
I think we've written about everything we had to say on it, but if anybody had any questions, we'd be happy to elaborate if we can.
Noah?
Well, if I understand what CMCA is asking at this point in time from our previous contact and our previous meeting, is that really they're only requesting three things from us at this time. One being that the proposed project will fit the proposed area zoning, and that the proposed project will not interfere with the city's comprehensive plan. And then the third being a letter of support from the city for the project. In my opinion, from what the staff put together here, I'm under the impression that the staff has done their research and felt that it does fit the zoning and it does not interfere with the comprehensive plan. So of those two questions from CMCA, I think, my opinion would be, I think we can offer that to them, that those two things are in fact true. The zoning's good and it doesn't interfere with any of our comprehensive plans. The third request, a letter of support, I think is a little premature because there's so many more steps that's going to have to be taken. We don't have a final site plan. This thing hasn't even gone through any of our other committees. So I don't feel comfortable giving a letter of support at this time. They get the funding for it or whatever, and then it turns out it doesn't work for some reason. and then we look like, like we jumped the gun on that one. So my opinion would be, I think we can answer their questions 1 and 2. Personally, I don't think we can do the letter at this time.
Any other comments? Did you have something you wanted to say?
Yeah, I think Noah eventually said it right. I think that what you have to say when you use the word zoning, it's a wider umbrella than just R1 as single family. It's got a lot more pieces to it. So I think the R1 fits, but the rest of it, as you were alluding to toward the end of your comment, we don't have the information to do that now. So, and I'm not sure you would expect anybody to, but.
Okay. Any other comments? Megan, have you shared with CMCA some of the concerns that were raised in your?
I've shared a copy of this document with them.
Yes, okay.
Yep.
That's what I need to know. Okay. Any other comments? I would,
That's what they're coming.
what are your comments on this? We've heard from Noah.
I mean, Diana,
them.
she have anything?
Diana, do you do you have any comments to make at this point?
No additional comments. Happy to answer any.
Okay, thank you.
I have a question in
Becky?
regards to Earl's memo and Megan's memo in referring to the requirements that are going to need to be met, the things that are not in place for this to take place. What would the cost to the city be? Is there an estimated cost, or is this a cost that
Talking
they're...
about you're talking about the
Yes.
water and sewer?
Yes,
No,
that they would
Those
absorb.
would be the developer's responsibility,
Okay,
including street repair, which one should not underestimate.
right, okay. So that would not be our cost, it would be their cost.
No, main extensions, and of course, most of this is service line, which is always the private responsibility, but if you're doing a development, you need to extend utilities, it's their responsibility.
Okay.
So are you comfortable with staff forwarding this? And that's the request, is to allow staff to provide the following for the application: letter stating the city has a comprehensive plan and a zoning letter. So are you comfortable with our staff doing that from what you have heard? Morris,
Yes, on those two things, but not a,
letter of support,
right.
okay. Okay. And would I hear a motion?
I'll make the motion that city staff prepare documents necessary to fulfill questions 1 and 2 to CMCA regarding zoning and comprehensive plan.
Okay, do I hear a second?
Second.
Okay. Any other questions or comments? Roll call.
Carter,
Yes.
Ayers.
Yes.
Heaton,
Yes?
Young,
Yes.
Evans,
Yes.
Meadows.
Yes.
Hurt.
Yes.
Okay. Is that what you need?
Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you, Diana. And Evan. Okay. Item 8, new business. Item A, consider temporary street closures and parking restrictions from the Chamber of Commerce for the Festival of Lights each Thursday in September. You have the notifications with signatures that we do require for street closures, and I see Roz and Diana are here, and I'm assuming you guys are the chairman again, or very active, so I'm sure if there are any questions, they would be glad to answer them. Morris?
Make a motion this be approved.
Okay, do I hear a second?
I'll second.
Thank you, Becky. Comments, questions? Roll call.
Carter,
Yes.
Ayers,
Yes.
Heaton,
Yes?
Young,
Yes.
Evans,
Yes.
Meadows.
Yes.
Hurt.
Yes.
Item B, Resolution R 2014-10 to revert to the prior tax rate ceiling.
A resolution of the City of Boonville, Missouri, declaring its intent in 2014, an even-numbered year, to revert to the tax rate ceiling as if no voluntary reduction had previously been taken. Whereas, for more than 10 years, the City of Boonville has voluntarily levied a property tax rate that was less than allowed by law. And whereas the amount of this reduction has increased in recent years, and whereas the local economy of the City of Boonville has experienced very significant job loss and associated reduced economic activity, and whereas this environment has resulted in reduced assessed property valuation, stagnant sales taxes, reduced water sales, significantly reduced gaming receipts, reduced interest income, and in general, a no-growth revenue picture. And whereas at the same time, costs such as health insurance, workers' compensation, electricity, fuel, and many other daily consumables have increased. And whereas in conclusion, the City of Boonville wishes to be controlled by the tax rate ceiling calculation as if no past voluntary reduction had been taken. And whereas said action allows the City of Boonville to evaluate the amount of the levy and any voluntary rollback to be determined in the context of current budget experiences. Therefore, be it resolved by the City Council of the City of Boonville, Missouri as follows. Section 1, that the City of Boonville, based on the foregoing, hereby resolves that its tax levy be based on the prior year tax rate ceiling as if no voluntary reductions had been taken. Section 2, that this resolution take effect and be in full force from and after its passage and approval. Passed this 4th day of August, 2014, by the City Council of Boonville, Missouri.
Morris,
Make a motion this be approved.
do I hear a second?
Second.
Kari, okay. Questions or comments? Roll call.
Carter,
Yes.
Ayers,
Yes.
Heaton,
Yes.
Young,
Yes.
Evans,
Yes.
Meadows,
Yes.
Hurt.
Yes.
Thank you very much. Item C, first reading of bill number 2014-018, establishing the tax levy for fiscal year 2014-15.
An ordinance of the City of Boonville, Missouri, establishing the rate of taxes to be levied on all property subject to taxes in the City of Boonville, Missouri for the fiscal year beginning April 1st, 2014.
Okay, item D, first reading of bill number 2014-019, approving local agency funding contracts for fiscal year 2014-15.
An ordinance of the City of Boonville, Missouri, approving local agency funding contracts for services, providing an effective date therefore, and repealing all ordinances in conflict with this ordinance.
Thank you, Mary.
Mayor,
Yes,
we need to make one correction we could on that ordinance.
okay.
On the back side where it lists as organizations,
On Exhibit B,
on the, yeah. Down there at
Harvest House.
the Harvest House,
Uh-huh.
we need to strike out the salary part.
Partial salary.
Yes,
Okay.
and that has already been discussed with them.
Okay.
It's just typed on there by mistake.
Okay.
So it just covers food and supplies.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay, thank you, Morris. Everybody understand? Okay. Item E, first reading of bill number 2014-020, amending 2-hour parking restrictions in the downtown area.
An ordinance of the City of Boonville, Missouri, amending Section 12-14D of the Code of General Ordinances entitled Payment in Lieu of Fine, 2-hour parking, penalty, providing an effective date thereof, and repealing all ordinances in conflict with this ordinance.
Okay. Item F, first reading of bill number 2014-021, approving a minor subdivision plat for the Evangelical United Church of Christ at Spring and 7th.
An ordinance of the City of Boonville, Missouri, approving a minor subdivision plat in Lot 244 of the original town, Section 35, Township 49 North, Range 17 West, in the City of Boonville in Cooper County, Missouri, at the corner of Spring and 7th Streets, providing an effective date therefor, and repealing all ordinances in conflict with this ordinance.
Reports of standing committees, Board of Adjustment. Megan?
Yes, in relationship to the item that was just presented for a first reading, the Board of Adjustment took up the issue of the side yard variances on that lot 244, on lots 700 and 706 on Spring Street, and evaluated the draft driveway agreement in consideration for that minor subdivision, and believed that that was an appropriate resolution, particularly in light of the fact that both of these structures were extremely well maintained, and the residential parsonage lot was no longer really being used. They no longer have a full-time minister that uses that house, and they desired to sell it off and maintain good relations between those two properties, and they came up with a pretty nice creative way to make that happen. The Board of Adjustment approved that variance.
Noah?
Was anything discussed about the fence? Because I don't know, there's one fence on the back of the property that goes clear across the back of the property. So is that also a shared maintenance thing, or how, is that a potential issue later?
That's really not a permanent structure.
So, unlike the driveway.
Right.
Okay.
So,
Okay.
Okay. Any other questions? Okay. Reports of city officials. City Administrator, Earl?
Nothing tonight?
I have nothing. City Councilor?
nothing this evening.
City Clerk, Megan, do you have anything? Or Mary, do you have anything?
I have nothing to report.
Okay, thank you. Miscellaneous. Do I hear a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Do I hear a second?
Second.
All those in favor say aye. Aye. We are adjourned. Thank you very much.
Football season.